So one of the problems I've seen and have experienced myself when setting goals is that they can seem really motivating at first, but then they start seeming kind of arbitrary. For example, whether it's, making money or improving your health. Say, for example, your goal is like, I want to make $10,000 a month from a job or from my business. And that may seem really good at first, but it doesn't really capture what you really want from that goal. What you really want is something more emotional, something that is actually inspiring. Say, for example, you're like, I want $10,000 a month so that I can not have to worry about money, so that I can pay all my bills, so that I can give to friends and family, so that I can travel and not have to worry about anything financially related. But if you set that as your goal, then you're not going to have any sort of specific target, and you're not likely going to make a massive improvement because you can't actually wrap your head around the thing that you're actually trying to accomplish, because it's just kind of this fuzzy concept. So there's a tool I learned about that was pioneered before Google existed, but it's one of the big things that Google does to set goals internally. It's called objectives and key results. And I've kind of been using it for years for different marketing promotions, for personal goals. And to me, it's worked fantastically because it allows you to capture the kind of fuzzy emotional thing you're trying to accomplish and really puts your feet to the fire with some specific measurable targets to hit to achieve that. And it also gets you to focus on not just the outcome of what you want, but the process, the things that are actually going to make it happen. So say, for example, you're a professional basketball player and you're like, I want to win a championship. You can just think about that all day long, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But if you're like, okay, if that's what we want to do, what do we need to do on a daily basis to actually make that happen? And you can set some targets around there. It also allows you to really focus on the process and not just the outcome. So the way this typically works is you have an objective, which is it's usually the acronym is OKR. So objective is the first part, objective. And you have your objective. So this can be, to me, this is like the fuzzy sort of emotional thing you want to accomplish. So this could be like, I want to make enough money so that I'm financially free and don't worry about it at all. So that may be perfect. And like when you're setting typical goals, like SMART goals, like we've all heard about, that's where you wouldn't be able to capture this thing. But this is what you really want. So it's good to capture this, and I like to capture this as the objective. So for us, maybe it's a marketing promotion. We're like, okay, we want to sell as much of this new product as possible and have extremely happy customers. That could be our perfect objective, and cool, that part's done. Then the next part is where you actually put your feet to the fire to make sure you accomplish something meaningful. So the way this typically goes is as measured by. So like, okay, this is what I want, but how do I know if I've actually gotten it? And so this is where you write down, I typically do 3 to 5 key results. Anything beyond that, I think is a little bit too much. And so I would have key result number 1, for example, could be like, let's say it's a marketing promotion. We want to sell as much of this new good product and help as many people as possible. So a key result could be like, we'll produce, this is where you can kind of use a SMART goal format. So we'll produce at least, say $100,000 in sales by this specific date. And so I write that thing out. I'm not going to do it right now, but you write that out. And so I want to do at least $100,000 in sales by this specific date. And then you may say, okay, to accomplish that, what do we need? Maybe we need something like 10,000 people to sign up for whatever promotion. Depending on the business promotion, this could be email leads, for example. So this is one of the things that's going to help us get there. So we don't want to just focus on this because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before we can even produce any money, and we want to really stack the odds in our favor. So say at least 10,000 leads. Now, one of the critical things you want to do here that I think makes this even more effective is to have what I call a counter key result. And so, a lot of times, if you're setting a goal, you don't want it to be at any cost you want to achieve it, because typically there's some things that you're not willing to accept. You're not gonna, screw people over in business. You're not gonna treat people bad, all those kind of different things. But there's some that are a little more subtle and a little less obvious. So say, for example, it's this marketing promotion and we're like, okay, cool. We want to, produce as many sales as possible. We want it to be at least $100,000 in sales by whatever date, at least 10,000 leads by whatever date. But, how do we make sure that we don't have any adverse consequences? Because maybe it's a product we want to sell for a long time and we don't want to cheapen it over time. So say, for example, like we could produce all these sales if we just ran a crazy deal just to produce a lot of sales now, but it would kill results later. So maybe this counter key result to balance all this stuff focused on leads and sales, maybe the counter key result is an average price of at least, say, $50. Maybe in the future you want to sell it for $70, whatever the product is. So you may have a counter key result that says at least $50. So that makes sure that we're not cheapening it and just going after short-term money and kind of cheating ourselves. And you could even have another one. That could be like, customer satisfaction score. I'm just shortening that. Customer satisfaction score. Say you send out a survey after, and you want to make sure that you didn't just overpromise a bunch of stuff and people are actually happy with the product. So you have a customer satisfaction score of, say, 9 out of 10 or something like that. So this format in general, and you can apply this to any area of your life. I've done it for business stuff. I've done it for personal financial stuff. I've done it for health goals and a lot of other kind of things. And so this can really help you capture the fuzzy emotional thing that you want to accomplish. And at the same time, make sure that you actually have measurable targets to get there. And you're not just focusing on the outcome, you're also focusing on the process to get there, which is really what's going to lead to the outcome, not just having this goal and wishing that it happens all day long. Google uses this, I think, across their entire organization with something like 50,000 employees right now. So they're a huge proponent of this. You can read a lot more about it if you just literally just search objectives and key results. But this is the general idea, and I've kind of modified it a little bit over time. But this, I think, works incredibly well rather than just picking a goal and then wondering later, like, why does this thing even matter? And so I think this works a lot better. One of the people that I think was a master at setting and achieving goals was the basketball coach John Wooden. He won something like 10 national titles in college and had like an 88-game winning streak. Incredibly successful, very principles-driven person. He did something very interesting, slightly different, which I like to give you kind of like a counter example. He would actually set goals for his season and then write them down for himself and then put them in an envelope, seal the envelope, and not look at it until the end of the year. And the reason he did that is because he wanted to focus so much on the process. He would literally have printed out note cards for every single practice and minute by minute breakdowns of what was happening. And he had his players moving the entire time, because with college basketball, he couldn't have them practicing, 10 hours a day, like maybe if they were in the professionals. And so he had a limited amount of time and he had to make the most out of it. So he was a master at focusing on the process. And so that's why I like to capture some of these process-oriented pieces. Because it's not just about the outcome, it's really about what you do on a day-to-day basis to actually make that happen. And he had a quote that I'll kind of leave you with here. He said, "Make each day your masterpiece." And even when he was retired, he was running around doing speaking things, he was doing charity work, and really until the day that he died, he was really trying to make as big of an impact as possible on the people that he was able to reach. And so you can use this process to improve almost any area of your life or any part of your business. So hopefully this helps. Let me know how it goes.